full kind of person? How do you view life? Is it happening to you, or is it happening for you? And how do you view yourself? And this is more of a spiritual question. Are you a human having a spiritual experience, or are you a spirit having a human experience? Many different ways to look at life, many different ways to experience life, right? So in psychology, there's this thing called the locus of control, which was founded or coined by Julian B. Roeder. And there is this external locus of control versus this internal locus of control. And people who tend towards an external locus of control are the glass half empty, life is happening to me, and maybe I am limited in what I can accomplish in this lifetime. Whereas people with an internal locus of control are the ones who feel more in charge of who they are. They're the glass half full kind of people. Life is happening for me. I'm in charge. I take personal responsibility for my life experience. And personal responsibility is something that we love to talk about in New Thought, because that's the very foundation of it, right? Yes, there's one thing going on, call it whatever you will, everyone and everything is that. But if not for choice, if not for volition, then we wouldn't have the life experience, the individual or individualized life experience that we have. And that falls down to us. And so what I mentioned either last 2 Wednesdays or last Sunday was that this month of perspective, part of my anchor for me, the inspiration to sort of, talk about the stuff I'm going to talk about, is positive intelligence. And I talked before about how positive intelligence is this coaching paradigm where you are either in your sage perspective or you are in your judge and accomplice saboteur perspectives. And when you're in your sage perspective, then you are showing up as. You are creating life as the infinite expansive universe, as love, as that incredible, amazing, infinite potentiality of the quantum field every moment of every day. Life is open. Life is about possibilities. Life is about exploration. When you are going into your saboteur mode or judge mode, then that's when the inner critic comes out. And this inner critic is there because when we were little kids, then at some point these 9 saboteurs, which really are tendencies of behavior and kind of like archetypes, they came into play to protect us from whatever it is that was going on so that we could grow up and become these well-rounded individuals. But what often happens for people is these saboteurs stay. They stay and then they put a damper on our life experience because they close us in these little boxes of behavior of I'm a victim, I'm controlling, I'm a hyperachiever, I'm a people pleaser, and so many other things. And so the thing with positive intelligence is to get out of that judge and saboteur mode and get into our sage mode. So in New Thought, what we would like to say is we want to get out of the relative and we want to get into the absolute, knowing, sidebar, that there is only the absolute, okay? And so here's a quote from Ernest Holmes. Although man is inherently a perfect idea, his individuality covers this idea with the forms of thought which he images. He thinks and observes, draws certain conclusions and deductions, and incorporates them within his mentality until at last they also become a part of the relative cause of his objective existence. And so when we think about this, this isn't just what we think, what we think about, we bring about in our own lives. It's what we think about, we bring about in our relationships with others. Sherry was talking about us sort of being a reflection, and if we want to experience more of something in our life, we first have to attend to it in ourselves. Well, if we are in relationship with someone or having an experience of some kind that is driving us bonkers, where we are at an impasse and we just can't see how to move forward, then one of the things that happens in positive intelligence is that we believe that the other party is at least 10% right. Okay, and in believing and really opening up to this idea, even if it's like, I don't understand how, sort of like with the gravel and the sand and the grass, even if I don't understand how in this moment, if I open up to the idea that the other party is at least 10% right, then I'm opening myself up to experiencing life in different ways, to better understanding maybe why did this person make those choices, and what is it in me that is being triggered that I can then attend to. And so when I was thinking about this 10% right with the other person, I was also thinking, well, what if we apply that to ourselves? What if when we're going through a really tough time, when we are just at some kind of an impasse with our thoughts, sometimes we don't even know what those thoughts are because they are coming from beliefs that we're not even aware of. What if we're at such an impasse that we just feel like we can't move forward? Well, what if we decided to say, I am at least 10% right? And when I say right, I don't mean like the opinion or right versus wrong. I'm talking about right seeing and thinking and being. What if we remembered who we actually are? That we are not our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, or our experiences. That we are the infinite expanse of universe in action. That we are God. That we are love expressing every moment and every day. If we just allow ourselves to think, I'm at least 10% of that, then we open ourselves up, we broaden our perspective of how we get to experience life. So the title of my talk today is, I am at least 10% infinite. Okay? At least. And if you think about it, you're going to think 10% infinite? What does that really mean? Well, infinite is infinite, right? Whether you think you're 10%, 2%, or 100% of it, infinite is infinite, no matter what. And so this comes down to personal responsibility. It comes down to what am I choosing to focus on in this moment? And so that's what Ernest Holmes is saying here. That we think, that we observe, that we draw conclusions, and those things cloud or they sort of put a limit on what it is that we can experience. But if we think and we draw conclusions and we remember that we are infinite in nature, that we are creativity expressing all the time, then those conclusions maybe don't stick so hard. Maybe they don't bind us. Maybe they don't bound us the way that sometimes we think that they do. So back to that quote at the beginning, for those people who are here for meditation, from Kenneth Pargament, who is a psychology professor that really focuses on the interplay of psychology, spirituality, and religion, sort of the positive and the negative, and how it informs our life. Through the lens of the sacred, we can see ourselves in broader perspective as small but significant parts of the larger stream that flows through and beyond our individual lives. I so appreciate this quote because it is such an amazing reminder that who we are as these individualized, active expressions of God is so significant, and at the same time, we are individualized expressions of God expressing in, through, and as us every moment of every day. And when we remember that that's what's happening, then all of the other stuff can start to fall into place because it doesn't seem so, not important, but it doesn't seem like it can keep us contained in an apparent sort of seeming box that we might have thought beforehand. So Ernest Holmes also says we are limited not by principle. Principle is who and what we are. Principle is the law of nature, of spirit in motion all the time. We are limited not by principle, but by our own inability to see perfection. What we focus on expands. In that infinite sea of potentiality, the quantum field where everything is possible, everything, at any given moment, anything could happen. What happens is what we focus on. What happens is what we choose. What happens is where we pay our attention. And so we need to be crystal clear. Not only is it what are we paying attention to, but how are we paying that attention? Are we paying attention as the glass half empty individual, as life is happening to me? Or are we paying attention as that glass half full? Anything is possible. Life is happening for me, so I am going to go with this flow and ride it out for every single second that I can. The choice is up to you, every moment of every day. And so to finish off, I just want to say, when we see ourselves for who we truly are, and I like to say infinite creativity, resilience, and love, we broaden our perspective and shape our individuality, our life experience, through the lens of that sacred knowingness that Kenneth Parkman is talking about. One of my favorite images right now, or metaphors maybe it is thanks to Neil Douglas Klotz and the teachings of the Aramaic Jesus. And in Aramaic, there is no word for separation. There is no word for other. It's all one. It's a very unifying language. And in Aramaic, when looking at some of the translations, reality or God really is translated to breath. Universal breath. That there is one universal breath that is breathing its way in, through, and as everyone and everything. And within that breath, there are these teeny tiny pauses. And it's within those pauses that we are held, that we experience our life experience. And then when we're done and we let it go and we expire, then that breath that we are returns back to this one amazing, essential, universal breath that is the essence, the foundation, the inception of everyone and everything. So my question to you is, how are you showing up in life? And if life or the other person or your thoughts and beliefs, whatever, aren't in conjunction, aren't in alignment with the amazing, fantastical, beautiful, brilliant life that you want to experience, that you know you can experience, then I invite you to maybe take a look at this declaration and say to yourself, I am at least 10% infinite. Thank you, and so it is.
All right.